The World Economic Forum, or WEF, is infamous for having an uncanny amount of influence over companies and countries around the world. This influence extends to the crypto industry and crypto regulations. That's why the WEF's recent crypto regulation white paper is so significant. It will influence the crypto regulations being proposed around the world, and this could make or break the crypto market. So today, I'm going to summarize this white paper and tell you how it could affect crypto if implemented. This is a video you need to watch until the end. The WEF white paper I'll be summarizing today is titled, quote, "Pathways to the Regulation of Crypto Assets, a Global Approach." It was published by the WEF late last month, and I'll leave a link to the full document in the description if you're interested. And I strongly suggest having a read if you have the time. Now, the white paper begins with a brief preface by a member of the WEF's Centre for the Fourth Industrial Revolution. For context, the Fourth Industrial Revolution is an idea dreamt up by WEF founder and chairman Ernst Stavro Blofeld, Klaus Schwab. It basically involves replacing all of us peasants with AI and automation. And another component of the Fourth Industrial Revolution is controlling the population with technology. This is probably why the preface asks how governments can control a technology that is borderless, open source, and decentralized. Naturally, the only solution is a global, coordinated approach to regulation. The author of the preface reveals that the WEF has been engaging in, quote, multi-stakeholder consultations to understand how to roll out global crypto regulations. Now, for reference, stakeholders is a term used by the WEF to describe powerful individuals and institutions, not commoners like you and me. In this case, the author of the preface specifies that the white paper was put together with, quote, significant contributions from members of the Digital Currency Governance Consortium, or DCGC. For those unfamiliar, the DCGC was formed in January 2020, and it includes multiple crypto companies. Funnily enough, the full list of DCGC members is apparently private, but we've put together a partial list as a consequence of our coverage of the WEF. Ripple, Ethereum company Consensus, and USDC issuer Circle are all part of the DCGC, as are dozens of prolific personalities in the crypto industry. The WEF's website notes that the DCGC is currently in Phase 2 of its master plan, which involves assessing the economic effects of crypto, stablecoins, and central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. The DCGC has published 5 reports so far, and we summarized the most important one back in November 2021. The link to that video will be in the description. Now, the next section of the white paper provides a brief summary of the key takeaways. Here, the authors argue that global crypto regulations are not only desirable, but, quote, necessary. They seem to suggest that this is because of the increasing connections between crypto and traditional finance. The authors explain that there are many things standing in the way of global crypto regulations, including a lack of universally accepted definitions for different types of cryptos, a lack of coordination between regulatory agencies, and regulatory arbitrage, aka some countries are being too pro-crypto. The authors point out that many other unaccountable and unelected international organizations have been working on global crypto regulations. If you've been keeping up with the channel, you'll know this includes the Financial Stability Board, or FSB, and the Financial Action Task Force, or FATF. The authors admit that the WEF has been in contact with these organizations, but insist that academia, civil society, and crypto users will also have a say in global crypto regulations. Of course, the authors don't put a timeline on when we will have a say in this matter. So far, we haven't had a say in anything. Now, the first part of the white paper is about why global crypto regulations are required. The authors start by explaining what crypto assets are and include stablecoins under the definition of crypto asset. Note that these reports seldom refer to cryptos as currencies. They believe cryptos are not currencies. That said, the authors do acknowledge that cryptos have some financial use cases. They say that this is why regulatory scrutiny around crypto has increased. As you might have guessed, they refer to the crash of Terra last May and the crash of FTX last November as examples of why regulatory scrutiny is justified. The authors then go on to explain that different jurisdictions have since introduced different crypto regulations. They claim that this increases the risk to the global financial system and creates benefits for bad actors in the crypto industry. They also highlight the inconsistency in crypto definitions. The authors then suggest that smart contracts could be one way of ensuring regulatory compliance. This is not surprising considering that the WEF is a huge fan of programmability in payments. Again, the WEF and its affiliates ultimately want to control what people do. Programmable payments are one way to do just that. When it comes to regulating cryptocurrencies, the authors say the first step is to identify where the crypto activity is taking place, if possible. The second step is to identify who is engaging in the crypto activity, and the authors say that privacy coins, personal wallets, and DeFi protocols make this difficult. Now this is terrifying because it presumably implies that personal wallets will be a target of global crypto regulations. This isn't without precedent either. If you've watched any of our videos about the FATF, you'll know that its endgame is to eliminate all non-intermediated activities in crypto. No personal wallets, in other words. Now, to be fair, the authors of this white paper don't seem to be that opposed to personal wallets. That's because they know that if you buy your crypto through an exchange with KYC, then it's easy to identify which wallet belongs to who with the help of blockchain analytics companies like Chainalysis. And you can learn more about how blockchain analytics companies track crypto transactions using the link in the description. I digress. Now, according to the authors, the third step to regulating crypto is to identify who is responsible in any given crypto activity. They admit that this is sometimes difficult to do, particularly when you're dealing with decentralized protocols. They note that this will become easier if DAOs become regulated entities. Then, in the next section, the authors dig deeper into the connections between crypto and traditional finance. They start by saying that the crypto market's correlation to BTC's price is a sign of maturity. Now, this is arguably incorrect. A decoupling between different crypto categories would be a sign of maturity. What the authors do get right, however, is that institutional interest in crypto has been on the rise. They proceed to cite a series of statistics from pro-crypto sources, which should be taken with a grain of salt. Real institutional interest and investment won't come until crypto regulations are introduced everywhere. The authors also note that retail interest in crypto is on the rise and seem to imply that this could cause problems for financial stability. This could explain why some countries, such as Canada, that are closely aligned with the WEF, have started introducing restrictions on retail investors in crypto. Now, besides contagion risks, the authors also underscore concentration risks as another area of concern, and rightfully so. The crypto market is reliant on a handful of stablecoins, a handful of exchanges, and even a handful of cryptos. Oddly enough, the authors claim that Layer 2s on Ethereum lower this concentration risk. This is odd because many Layer 2s are still reliant on Ethereum for their security, which logically increases concentration risk. Never mind that many of these Layer 2s are extremely centralized and backed by the same investors. Now, the second part of the white paper is about the challenges to global crypto regulation. The authors start by reiterating that the absence of universally accepted crypto definitions is the biggest problem. They propose a potential taxonomy, but admit that there are exceptions to every crypto definition. They then explain that this is a problem because it makes it impossible for there to be consensus about specific crypto regulations. It increases the cost of crypto compliance around the world, and it makes it difficult to protect consumers. All I can think of when I hear that phrase is SEC Chairman Gary Gensler. Anyway, according to the authors, the second challenge to global crypto regulation is regulatory arbitrage. They seem to take issue with the fact that crypto developers have the ability to move wherever they want. I imagine the WEF would want nothing more than to control the movement of people. Say, did you know that the WEF is trying to turn almost every major city into a smart city? More about that in the description. Anyways, the authors admit that it might still be too soon to push for global crypto regulations. That's because most governments are still trying to wrap their heads around the technology. Some jurisdictions, such as the EU, which recently passed its MiCA crypto regulations, are further along than others. The authors then reveal that all of these early crypto regulations, including MiCA, will come into force starting early next year. Now, this is more significant than you think because this could make institutional investors comfortable allocating to crypto again. This means the crypto market could rally starting early next year. And this, coincidentally, coincides with the next Bitcoin halving. Funny how that happens. Anywho, the authors also seem to take issue with so-called crypto hubs. They seem to imply that crypto hub is code for less crypto regulation and appear to blame them for causing regulatory arbitrage. This could be bad news for places like the UAE, Hong Kong, and Singapore if the WEF starts pulling strings. Speaking of which, if you watched our summary of the WEF's annual Davos conference earlier this year, you'll know that there was overt hostility to a Dubai delegate on one of the crypto panels. The chair of the FSB also said that the organization will address so-called sunny places for shady people. Yikes. This ties into another important angle the authors raise when it comes to crypto regulations, and that's geopolitics. Deterioration in international relations is making it difficult to get certain countries to comply with global crypto regulation recommendations. It's safe to say that this trend will continue, not reverse. This relates to the third challenge to global crypto regulation, and that's, quote, fragmented monitoring, supervision, and enforcement. The authors repeat that a lack of international cooperation is one of the core causes of this fragmentation, as well as the rapid evolution of crypto-related technologies. The authors then provide the FATF's infamous travel rule as a case study. Now, to refresh your memory, the travel rule requires all transactions above a certain threshold to be tracked and KYC'd. The authors lament the fact that compliance with the FATF's travel rule has been slow when it comes to crypto. On that note, you should know that the FATF has reportedly been pressuring countries to restrict or even permanently ban crypto in order to get off its naughty lists. If this is true, then crypto hubs could face financial sanctions if they don't comply with the FATF's crypto recommendations. A scary thought. In any case, the third part of the white paper is about the possible approaches to regulating crypto on a global scale. The authors start by providing a de facto list of regulations the WEF wants to see. Crypto-specific, stablecoin-specific, KYC AML, consumer protection, including restricting retail access to crypto, strict regulations around crypto marketing, and regulation of DeFi and DAOs. The authors then detail the 5 primary approaches to crypto regulation. The first is principles-based regulation. This involves regulating around a series of broad principles rather than specific rules. The benefits of this approach are innovation and flexibility. The drawback is regulatory uncertainty. The second approach is risk-based crypto regulation. This involves applying the same risk, same regulation principle, meaning that crypto should abide by existing financial regulations. The benefit of this approach is regulatory certainty, and the drawback is difficulty in assessing risks. I'll quickly note that the WEF is a huge fan of this same risk, same regulation approach. It's why you see it in many of the existing regulatory recommendations for crypto. If that wasn't concerning enough, in this section the WEF advocates for eliminating cash and going digital to ensure that KYC AML is followed. Now, the third approach to crypto regulation is what the authors call agile regulation. This effectively involves allowing regulations to evolve in response to new innovations. The benefit of this approach is that it is flexible. The drawback is that it requires lots of coordination and collaboration with the crypto industry. The fourth approach to crypto regulation is self-regulation, which is straightforward. This involves allowing the crypto industry to set standards. The benefit of this approach is that it builds trust. The downside is that it can lead to capture, one company determining all of the standards, for instance. The fifth approach to crypto regulation is one you'll all be familiar with, and that's regulation by enforcement. This involves taking crypto companies and projects to court and using the precedent as de facto regulations. The benefit is accountability. The drawback is zero innovation. Interestingly, the authors asked their so-called stakeholders about which of these regulatory approaches is best. The results can be seen here. Lo and behold, risk-based regulation is the most popular. Surely that has nothing to do with the fact that the WEF is a fan of this particular approach. Anyhow, the authors confirm that the other unaccountable and unelected organizations such as the FSB and FATF have been adhering to the WEF's risk-based approach to crypto regulation. It's truly crazy to consider just how much influence the WEF has, and this is just the stuff that's public. Anyhow, the fourth part of the report contains the WEF's recommendations for global crypto regulations. The authors start by explaining that these recommendations are meant for the international organizations, governments, and quote, industry stakeholders who are presumably a part of the WEF. In other words, these recommendations are what most crypto regulations are going to look like, regardless of what we the people say or do. The authors again claim that the average person will get the chance to give their input someday, but I can't say I'm confident that they'll keep their word. Anyway, the first set of recommendations are specifically for international organizations. These are two. Create definitions for different types of cryptos and crypto activities, set standards for how these cryptos and activities should be regulated, and share data about registered entities with all organizations. This begs the question of whether registered entities includes crypto users like you and me. Knowing the WEF, the answer is probably yes. After all, the endgame of these international elites is to create a global government with a global digital ID and a global, centrally controlled digital currency. Anyway, conspiracy theories aside, the second set of recommendations are specifically for governments. These are to coordinate regulations between jurisdictions, create regulatory certainty for the crypto industry, and, quote, use technology for regulation by design, regulation at the blockchain level via smart contracts. Remember, the WEF loves programmability. The third set of recommendations are specifically for the crypto industry. They are to set standards, to share best practices, and ensure, quote, responsible innovation. This seems to be code for adhering to ESG criteria, given that the term refers to environmental, social, and economic risks. If you've watched any of our videos about ESG, you'll know that it's an investment ideology intended to ensure that the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, are met. Every country is supposed to meet the UN's SDGs by 2030, which is why you see that date everywhere and for everything. Our research suggests that all the dystopian stuff being pushed has its roots in the UN's SDGs, be it CBDCs, digital IDs, smart cities, or online censorship. What we have yet to figure out is who exactly is behind the UN's SDG campaign. If you have any ideas, drop them in the comments section. So, this brings me to the big question, and that's how the WEF's global crypto regulation recommendations could affect the crypto market if they're implemented. Well, the short answer is that it would result in the crypto industry being absorbed into the existing financial system, which is exactly what the WEF wants. This is because the practical effect of risk-based regulation is that crypto is forced to comply with existing financial regulations. As the authors themselves tacitly admit, these risks posed by crypto aren't always clear, and many would argue that the risks are significantly different. This justifies different regulations. In fact, the WEF's recommendations would make crypto worse than the existing financial system. That's because they would require info about all registered entities to be shared with international organizations, require regulations to be enforced via smart contracts, and require all cryptos to be ESG compliant. These three problematic recommendations have one thing in common, and that's governance, aka control. If you watched our video about ESG and Bitcoin, you'll know that the environmental aspect isn't the problem, it's the governance. Bitcoin can't be controlled because it has no governance structure. In case you haven't noticed, this is the core issue that the WEF and its allies are trying to address. How do we control something that is designed not to be controlled? It's possible, if not likely, that the endgame of the environmental-focused attacks on Bitcoin is actually to track all Bitcoin miners and nodes. This is something that the WEF's global crypto regulations would prescribe, because Bitcoin miners and nodes would presumably need to be registered. Their information would therefore have to be shared with all international organizations. At that point, it would become possible to control Bitcoin, in theory at any rate. In practice, the WEF's global crypto regulations will never come to pass, and this is something the authors have tacitly admitted as well. In addition to all of the geopolitical tensions, it's practically impossible to introduce the same crypto regulations in every single country at the same time. This means that there's going to be some regulatory arbitrage, whether it's intentional or not. This regulatory arbitrage will exist for years, and in some countries it will persist for decades. So long as there's a country out there that the WEF can't influence, it won't be able to fully corrupt crypto. And because crypto innovation is essentially exponential, there's a high likelihood that it will evolve to a point that it can't be controlled by the WEF and its allies. This is perhaps the most important takeaway. Crypto is too fast for the WEF. Klaus & Co. will never be able to keep up, and crypto will eventually win the race. Right now, though, there are lots of hurdles facing the crypto industry, and the WEF's white paper suggests that it played a role in putting those hurdles in place. Whether it's the FSB or the FATF, the WEF's fingerprints are there, and I'd be lying if I said there weren't WEF allies in the crypto industry too. Even so, we truly believe that the incentives of crypto are stronger than the WEF's cronyism. If you create a powerful crypto or protocol that makes it possible for the average person to preserve their purchasing power, grow their wealth, and maintain their financial freedom, you are rewarded in every possible way. As purchasing power, wealth, and financial freedom continue to erode, the incentive to create powerful cryptos and protocols will only increase. At some point, the incentives will become so strong that the WEF's hurdles will become irrelevant. The people will want freedom, and they will achieve it through crypto. And that's all for today's video. If you found it informative, smash that like button to let me know. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and ping that notification bell so you don't miss the next one. Also, take a second to share this video with any friends and family that you think need to see it. If you happen to be looking for a safe place to store your crypto, you should know that the Coin Bureau Deals page has the biggest discounts on the best hardware wallets. It's also got trading fee discounts of up to 50% and almost $40,000 worth of bonuses. Check it out using the link in the description. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Till then, stay cool, stay safe, and stay crypto.